conspiracy theories, tomorrow's headlines. Most are still asleep and I ain't talking about no bedtime. The truth is not a Google search, you need to get your head right. The Greek goddess of illusion was called Media, and I'm not a coincidence theorist, I look for thread lines. Smashing every deadline, no longer smashing red wine. Though I can hear the bells chime, it feels like the end times. That probably should have been smashed on red wine, but the carnal mind is foolish. Obey and end up ghoulish. Don't get used by instinct, take control and learn to use it. Make a load of earnest music, earn a few quid, learn a few tricks. Sure, the truth is persecuted, this whole world is pure abusive. Know a bit about everything and everything about nothing. Figured out my noggin while you picture out shopping. You sit about watching while I dish it out, stop it. I don't mean to sound cocky, I'm not even proud of it. It's a second nature to me, just a mild profit. Everything but out on it, you can bet your house on it. Doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds, and I'm down for the beat, no beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick with it, healthy how? Few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they beat out.
Welcome to the 509 Divine Pines podcast. I am your host, Joseph Daniel Pena, and I thank you for staying tuned to my broadcast. Yes, man, it's been about almost 200 episodes, and we're about in season 3.5. Yes, this is that halfway mark, kind of between the year, so I kind of took a break over the summer, coming back. And this is where we're at, man. I appreciate all of you guys. Like, subscribe, share. Tell everyone around that this is going down. And I have my boy, Big Fat DTB, right here. We're off from the OBDM Discord chat. Going to break down some news and cool, relevant topics for you guys out there all across this beautiful earth. But first, I want to say, like, really, if you're in the valley, if you're in my local area, my state, where my city, I am now a certified fitness trainer, and I need some new clients. So if you guys would like to get in shape and to be sharp and to be on point, like I am on my pictures, where you guys see on Instagram, you guys see on Facebook, I'm definitely hitting the gym. I'm staying sharp. If you guys want to be a part of that, go ahead and contact me for more information. I am CPR and CPT certified, so I will get you appropriately fitted to whatever your body desire and body goal is. So don't feel like I'm just bluffing, because no. Man, I got you. This is my life, and I love it. I want to see you change, because I've changed myself. And I have a lot of sponsors out here who can help you out. If you guys want some extra energy, go check out Shop C60 to go ahead and revitalize yourself and put your body on the next level. An antioxidant that won a Nobel Prize in the 1980s, scientifically known as the world's best antioxidant, the buckfullerene. Yes, the buckyball. C60, which was researched first by Buckminster Fuller in the 1980s, and finally, over the last 40 years, we've seen its perfect use and its evolution. C60 has gummies, has face creams, has the topicals on the go, has it for your dog, and I have a coupon code for you, 509 Divine Pines. You could go ahead and use that on shopc60.com, and I mean it, guys. The best antioxidant. Oh my gosh, it takes me to a brand new level. I'm sharp. I'm 31, and I don't even feel
you're
31,
young, bro.
I don't even feel 31. Everyone around's like, yo, what? Like, you look 21. Your energy, on the court, we're in the gym. It's infectious. It's strong. It's vibrant, man. I pump people up just the way I'm pumped up. It's pretty amazing. If you guys want, go ahead, check it out. Shop C60, and the combo to take with it is Boomer Boost Dynamic Duo. Yes, a barley blend and a 70 nutrient blend. That is the dynamic duo over at boomerboost.com. You can use coupon code Joe30 for 30% off your order. And this combo, this stack will freaking rock your life. I mean, if you ever thought you were weak and feeling tired, sluggish, and out of shape, out of breath, I'm not even kidding. Take the dynamic duo. It costs about 150, but with my coupon code, it could drop you down to about 110, maybe 120, 100 bucks, 80, 90. I don't even know. They have sales all the time that you can stack onto my coupon code. So go check out their website, boomerboost.com, with all the best vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and supplement support with mind, body, and soul goals and morals in mind. So now, you know, to get your health on point, it's just not about what you eat. It's about what you hear. And right now, man, we're gonna spit some truth for you guys. First and foremost, let me bring it up. Let me just pull up. I saw this little video right here. I wanted to go ahead and show people. I was typing in World Fair conspiracies, but everybody, I've been talking about the Agenda 2030 for quite some time.
Numerous,
Like, I mean, quite some time, guys. We should be highly aware of Agenda 2030, and it's kind of what we're going through with this whole COVID. Everybody's shook. Everybody is, wondering, like, why is this happening? Like, is this war? Are we getting poisoned? What is? Well, it's Agenda 2030, and we're just gonna preface and start off this podcast, and then we're gonna intro Big Fat Man. We're gonna have you come after this video right here. Break it down. Let's break it down. Give everybody a little taste of what's going on.
numerous platforms on which this group has been meeting and discussing this agenda. But the most important one is that of the World Economic Forum, which was invented in 1971 by a then 33-year-old Klaus Schwab. Its members are 1,000 global corporations with at least $5 billion in annual sales, politicians, media representatives, scientists, and other so-called high-profile personalities. They meet once a year in Davos, but there are other such meetings, for example, in China. And since 1992, they have created and presented to us their own group of political leaders for the world. Among the first graduates, as I mentioned before, are Angela Merkel and Bill Gates in 1992. Others are Sebastian Kurz, up until recently Chancellor of Austria, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand, François Macron, President of France, and many, many more. This group, which is now called the Davos Clique, is openly, the publication The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab is one of the most important sources for this information, promoting the shifting of the world's assets to this group of super rich people so that in 2030, ordinary people will own nothing and be happy, as it explicitly states there, under their one world government with a digital currency given to us by their one world bank. And they're also openly promoting, in close cooperation with people like the putative defendant Bill Gates, the Rockefellers, and others, the drastic reduction of the world's population and the manipulation of the remaining population's DNA all the way into transhumanism. Their most important goal is, however, the controlled, by them, of course, implosion of the completely looted financial system and simultaneous introduction of a digital currency issued by one world bank controlled by them, and just as important, the introduction of a world government under the UN, which has come under their full control in 2019. Numerous
Well,
Man, that tells it, bro. If everybody's been wondering why, how, who, it was all laid out right there. And
wow,
with that,
just a
welcome,
bunch
bro.
of
I
rich
welcome
people.
you. What do you think, man? What do you think? Tell them who you are, what you think, what's going on in your mind right now, and what is everybody experiencing, bro? Is this a Mandela effect? Is this a psychosis? Is this all a psyop, or is this all real?
I mean, to me, it's sort of like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You can classify what everyone's going through as anything you want it to be. That's the power of your mind, dude. You can either, you know, you can navigate through this wasteland and let everything just fuck you up and bring you down, or like what you're doing, you can say, fuck it, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna become a fitness trainer, I'm gonna look hella good, and I'm gonna just enjoy whatever the fuck I can that's in my control. Because most of it is way out of our control. How if we really wanted to do something or stop this or stop them, what would be the first step to that? What could we really do about it? These people.
I think the highest step is spirituality, right? Where if we're spiritually protected by the blood and the power of Jesus Christ, then these demons, these lower dimensional entities, these reptilians, these shapeshifters, grays, that these bloodsuckers, loose harvesting pedos cannot mess with us. They cannot alter our vibration. All word
Yeah,
of
I like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
That's again. You said okay, wait. Spirituality. To me, to obtain a higher level of spirituality, you need to also have a high sort of a really good connection with yourself and your mind, your body, and your soul. And only then will you be able to reach another form of enlightenment. So that goes back to what I'm saying about you're in control of how you perceive everything. If you can ignore all this other fucked up shit that's going on, and you make the best of the choices that you have and what you can do, then that right there, you're already a step ahead of all these other people, and you can, do good for yourself and all those around you.
And I think trying to help our reality and our environment is the key thing, because yes, we are not ultimately in control. These guys are trillionaires and they want us to not own anything and be happy. We can already see it playing out. It's just up to us and how we treat the people around us. But it is good to know, though, that there is a war that we can't ignore. You know, I I think over the last 2 years, we've all been seeing this battle for the mind, right? The battle for the soul, and it's in the flesh now. I openly see like more and more people just come to the truth of things. Like they're fighting, and it's up to us to help. We're the light makers. We're the ones with the torch, or we're the ones who are leading our friends through the darkness. And with that, hey bro, tell them just a little bit about you so that everybody knows where you're coming from. Like, where you at? You're in the West Coast, you in the East Coast. What's good in the hood?
I'm in the West Coast, Northern California.
Oh,
You're in Washington, right?
yeah, bro. I'm up here in
Nice.
the Evergreens. Yeah, I'm a fitness trainer, and I appreciate you saying saying that earlier. Tell them about you. What do you do? What do you do in life?
I'm just a guy that's experienced a lot of different things. They say through pain, they say with pain you gain wisdom. And so I've been through a lot of different things. I've just seen a lot of different instances that have opened my eyes to a lot of different shit. I am just as skeptical as I am a believer in certain things, and I'm more of, I got to see things to believe it. And I've seen some paranormal stuff. I've probably seen some demons before. I've probably seen angels. I've probably seen aliens, um, ghosts. I've just experienced a lot of different things that I don't have the answer to. And that's sort of what kind of got me into this sort of thing. Was I was trying to find answers to all these questions I've had, and it doesn't really seem like there are any real one answer to any question. It's always going to be speculation, and that's also ties back into what I was saying about perception. I mean, me and you could sit there and see the same thing, but we could totally experience it in two different ways. I don't know if that makes sense.
I get it. I get it. We only understand things from the levels of which we have delved into. Like, I get it. Let's ask real quick. Did the questions or the paranormal experiences come first?
The paranormal. So I would
And over the
experience something, and I would be like, well, what was that? What did I experience? And then I would just, I guess, research it. I remember being as young as 7 years old, going into the library, looking at books about the unknown, and just, I remember also watching, I don't, me and you are close in age. You're just a little bit younger than me, but I remember watching Unsolved Mysteries, the alien episodes, the ghost episodes was always super dope and intriguing to me. I had this
X-Files?
book. Yeah, I didn't really watch the X-Files that much.
Okay.
Um,
X-Files are cool. I didn't watch it a whole lot, but what book? What book are you talking about?
I remember I was probably second grade, third grade. I found this book. It was called Mysteries of a Forgotten World, and it went really in depth into a lot of just all these mysteries that have yet to be answered, that have been documented. So they're real life things that have happened. There's evidence of things, and there's just no answer to it. It's like missing 411. There's a person gone and he's missing, and you can kind of paint your own picture toward like and speculate what happened, but you'll never ever for sure 100% know what happened. And you can't sit there and someone turn around and be like, oh no, that's not true, that doesn't happen. And it's like, so where the fuck did this guy go? Where is this person? It's the same thing with these cataloged mysteries. They showed like the Inca lines, the Inca lines, or the Nast. What are they called? The
Nazca Lines.
Nazca.
The Nazca Lines.
Yeah. I remember reading about it. They wrote like, who the fuck built this? How? Why? What is it? Just like an alien. There's like a picture of an alien, a guy, a spider. Just crazy, you know?
And over the last couple of years, they've actually found like 200% more Nazca lines. It's quite fascinating.
Oh, really?
You know,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
yeah, man. Yeah, I stay pretty involved with like that archaeology news. I listen to this podcast called Earth Ancients with Cliff Dunning. He's over there in Northern California, and he's like this old 50, 60, 7-year-old hippie. I think he's like 50 or 60. And he's cool where he's, he does yoga and he talks about cannabis, he smokes, he talks about ancient archaeology. He goes and visits these places like Egypt, like Mexico and the pyramids at Teotihuacan and different places. He'll go travel in South America, and it's a really fascinating podcast that I pick up a lot of information, a lot of spiritual piece about the understanding, I guess, of these past cultures, because he has on actual authors and archaeologists. I want to mention to all my viewers out there, Big right here. What do I call you? What big fat?
Call me DTB.
DTB, bro. DTB. So, what DTB was mentioning is that there's these mysteries that aren't really solved. Like they're openly talked about, but there's just a lot of holes. Well, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and break down a little bit. I'm gonna preview. I'm gonna just brush into it for a couple minutes. We're not gonna spend a whole episode, but the World Fair. The World Fair is a mysterious time in the early 1900s. All across America, there were these world fairs. Well, the story goes that the governments of the states wanted to put on a amazing fair for their state, for the world. It was like, for all the elites. It had all the fine, marvelous architecture, all the finest statues and all the finest goods and whatever. Well, they say that a lot of these buildings were built in time for the fair, but looking at them and hearing the stories, these buildings are from the old Tartarian Empire, or the old empire that is being washed away. The mystery here is, why do they want to wash away this old empire? And why is it so great? Why is this empire so great? When we look at, in the early 1900s, the technologies that they had electric cars, they had electric scooters, they had electric trams. It almost seemed like they were already ahead of their time. But what happened next was, all of America's biggest cities suddenly had earthquakes, mud floods, fires. The cities were destroyed, and boom, there goes the dynamite. All the evidence just went away, right? They After the fairs, they said they have to take it down, destroy it, destruction. And well, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and get into some videos right now. We're gonna watch a couple and let you guys think for yourself.
And then what was amazing, for example, in St. Louis, 2 days after the fair ended, they brought in a demolition team from Chicago with explosives and blew the thing up. They actually used dynamite to blow it up, and they say threw it in landfills. Things like the World Fairs shows there was a time in our past, and even not that far in our past, where humans seem to be at a completely higher level. Human living and human knowledge were constructed into the buildings using cymatics, using sacred geometry. These fairs, they're so important to study because the history that we know right now as history was invented at the time these fairs were going on. One of their underlying nefarious purposes was to teach a historical narrative to the population that they were supposed to believe and agree with. Fastest built building in the world, 5,000 square meters, capacity for 2,000 guests, 600 rooms, 30 apartments, and it was supposed to be built in 53 days. This is supposed to be a time of horse and buggy. The 2-year building times are actually impossible, unless the two most likely theories would be either A, they had a technology that they're not supposed to have, and it really was built in that time frame. Even if they built them, they had to build them out of marble and stone in record time, or the buildings were already there. They'd been there for hundreds or thousands of years, fixed up, refurbished, repainted, hence the term whitewashed, which is the term that was used for the Chicago Exposition, which was paint all the buildings with this brand new spray paint that they had just developed to spray paint all the buildings in record time, so you couldn't tell if anything was old or anything was new.
Man, oh man. The World's Fair, it makes me think that there were remnants of our ancient creators, our pro-creators, or the Nephilims, or these fallen angels, all around. Look at these statues right here.
Yeah, I don't get it. They still have the building in San Francisco, and it's a pretty nice building. It's the Palace of Fine Arts, and they're always doing crazy shit there. It's really nice in like the rich neighborhood.
What do you mean crazy shit?
Like,
what do you mean crazy stuff?
Like, it's crazy to think they would expose it to the public, but then just rip it and burn it down right after. I mean, what would the point of that be? To prove that they have this sort of technology and they're flaunting it in the faces of people? Or I guess I just don't understand what the purpose of exposing themselves would be. And now people have this evidence of it, and I guess I just don't know the goal of it. Was it just same thing as like how the World Economic Forum is doing today, where it's just a bunch of rich people that are like have this insane amount of power and they just kind of want to flex on everybody? Is that the same thing that happened at these fairs? Some people that were in charge and capable of using this technology just decided, I'm going to put on a show for all you guys, and then like, oh, okay, you're done, bye. I don't know. I guess I just don't understand.
Well, when we look at the way that these deities and these gods were, they were very jealous. They were very prideful. they didn't like the other gods. And when we see these cultures, they're very influential from the way that they believe in their deity. And it's kind of like how it was in Iraq, where these bandits, these maybe Muslim terrorists, they were literally just going out and destroying archaeological evidence because they didn't like it, or statues and everything. Over here in America, I think they're a little bit different for sure. They're a different culture. They're a different style. It almost seems more Olympian like, where there's definitely a lot of what you said out there in California. They got this temple, right? I've seen more where they have like Atlas and some of these other Greek type gods around. I imagine that there is a lot of battles between these secret societies, and it's not just one secret society winning at all times. It's probably a mix of many. That's what I kind of think, and some of these guys just don't like it. They see the opposing god, or they see the opposing force, and they're like, you know what, just take it all down, take it all down. I mean, what are the freaking the what did the
That makes
Freemasons and,
sense.
these secret societies, these white guys do when they came over to America? They literally look at the Indians and they looked at their cultures and they just freaking destroyed and like almost almost like erased them from history, eradicated them from history.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next video right here.
No, that makes sense. I can see that. I like that. It's a good answer.
Let's check it out. So this one is on the inside of St. Louis 1904 World's Fair. And imaginably, if these guys don't, if these elites don't even have the means or capabilities to use these structures properly because they don't have the builders anymore, then of course they'd be like, you know what, screw it, it's all a waste. How are we supposed to repair this? The giant's not here anymore. The Nephilim not here anymore. Let's get
World fairs were made just as beautiful and intricate as the grounds outside. And yet again, it displays a showcase of how our past was leagues ahead of our own abilities, housing an inside zoo and a zoo of people, and many, many elaborate displays. These look like anything but temporary. From the inside out, these are absolutely stunning. I believe, if anything, these to be the fairs of the inheritors, the controllers taking over the lands of a fallen empire and showing it off, showing off all the
Oh,
technology and the works of the old world.
yeah,
This
see,
story
showing off.
has been written by the conquerors. Question everything, friends. Until next time. The insides.
Yeah, makes sense. Showing off.
Now, check this one out. This is the 1915's World Fair. So in San Francisco.
The path
Ooh,
that
all right.
we are given, especially at some of these World's Fairs. The glaring holes in the narrative become quite evident. So let's take a look today at the World's Fair of 1915. One of my favorite World's Fairs, right up there with the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. So as usual with this beautiful World's Fair, built in about 2 years' time, torn down 6 months later. But this is where I said, let's take a closer look. Look at some of the details here, and let me know if this looks like a 2-year job. All these waterways and canals and fountains, and if you look closely at some of these buildings, you can really see the weathering on it, like here in the Court of Abundance. This landscaping alone would take years to pull off, let alone all those carved statues. Look at that fountain over there on the left. Here's a close-up shot on that fountain. Does that look like it should be less than 2 years old? Even after the fair was over and this was drained, this doesn't look like it was a 2-year-old weathered fountain. This looks like it's hundreds of years old, not thousands. And the foliage in some of these shots, these are full-grown trees, almost as tall as the Palace of Fine Arts itself. not only does it look very weathered, but all those trees, how massive they are, there's no way you can source such fully grown shrubbery and trees. And even if you could, why would you make it so overgrown and take away so much from that beautiful architecture, temporary or otherwise? I mean, this looks like a waterway they're cruising down in ancient Greece, not something made temporary in only 2 years to be torn down 6 months later. Palace of transportation, full-size trees almost as tall as the building. And another close-up on the Palace of Agriculture. Again, a palace of agriculture. And does that look temporary? Look at the weathering on all of those ornate details on the top. And this watch palace probably looks like a temporary fair structure, at least the most out of all the other ones we saw. But why a watch palace? And why does Uncle Sam almost look like he's a hypnotist? Maybe that watch palace is where the masses went to get the new narrative. The only thing they did in those 2 years before these fairs were renovating and repairing old world structures that were already there and giving them silly names like the Forestry Building. And in these beautiful remains of the old world, the masses flocked to get the new narrative programmed into them. Just like tuning in to the mainstream media today. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Have you been out there to San Francisco? Are you in San Francisco?
I go to the Palace of Fine Arts a lot. It's a nice little spot to chill at. I was just gonna say it looks exactly the same. It looks
Oh, no
like
way.
they didn't tear it down. No, it's still there. All that shit you were like that he's looking at, it's all there. You could probably look on Google right now.
So, so all those waterways, do you kind of see some reminiscence of that?
Yeah, like I don't. There's the Palace of Agriculture. I don't know if. See, that's where I'm confused because there's a huge, massive building that's called the Palace of Fine Arts,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the one that I go to. But I don't know
Right.
if the other one's he said the Palace of the Watchmen or the Palace of Agriculture, and what else? The Palace of. He said another building. I don't think those are still there. So maybe those are the ones he tore down. But the Palace of Fine Arts is still there, and it has all those waterways. It has the statues. It has the structures. It has the pillars. It has the lake. It has the fountain. It has the trees, and it's about the size of a football field.
Does it feel different when you walk in there? Is there some type of ambience? Because from what I understand is that like a lot of these structures they were made in either some type of what is it? Piezoelectric properties or geometric type of properties. Maybe just even the peace and the tranquility of the area. Is there what do you what do you feel? Is there a different vibe there?
It's peaceful. Yeah, it's very peaceful. People aren't fighting there. People aren't getting their cars broken into there. Everyone's chilling, sitting on the grass, sitting by the water. A lot of happy, events are going down there, like, quinceañera pictures, or like people go there after they get married at the courthouse. They drive over there and they take pictures, and everyone's laughing, everyone's having a good time. So for the most part, it's not a negative spot, and it's also a really good spot to sit down and look at the view. You're kind of on the top of a hill overlooking the Golden Gate and a big part of San Francisco. It's a really nice spot. I like going there, so
Man,
it's
yeah,
chill.
I want to go check out some of these areas for sure. I here's a little clip. This is interesting. So on May 20 or May 31, May 31st, 2023, President Trump announced that he would be celebrating the return of the World's Fairs that left the planet speechless in the 1890s and 1900s. We'll see about that. Well, what does that mean? He's going to destroy. They're gonna take over all of our buildings and then destroy them.
I mean, that's what happened in
Man,
Qatar with the World Cup. They just built those stadiums and now they're just sitting there.
oh, wow, yeah, yeah, they got a lot of money to do that type of stuff too. So okay, I gotta ask: is there some type of understanding that maybe that there's like tunnels between all these buildings? Do you think?
Oh yeah, I think so.
What do
Definitely.
you
I
think? Because
think
I mean,
there's massive tunnels where you can like even fly planes through, I bet. You shoot shit through. The portals probably. Like giant magnets, you could just transport something in the blink of an eye, millions of miles an hour at a time in a straight line.
well, there's talks that the pyramids that
To me, now
inside the
what's
pyramids
interesting
that
too
there's
is
chambers that you can get transported. Like, it's very interesting. Okay, there's technology. There's technology right here. We're gonna watch another video right fast. 1893 Chicago World Fair. He's talking about elevators, a zipper, Ferris wheel, the first voice recording, Cracker Jackers. Let's check it out real quick. It's 1 minute long.
So today we're going to talk about Chicago 1893. Now look at this. Look at these buildings. Look at this fountain. Look at the amount of detail, right? All these archways. Do we really believe that these buildings were temporary, right? That's what we were told. They were temporary buildings put up for the World Fair. Looks a little more than temporary to me. Now, what's interesting too is as I was digging deeper, there was a book from 1902 that talked about how all of the walls were 18 inches thick for these buildings and completely fireproof. But it's interesting because in the 1900s, there were all these fires, and allegedly, all of these buildings burnt down due to a fire. Now, do we really think that that story is correct? Right? Granite setting on fire, maybe some dynamite, and maybe somebody actually got rid of these buildings so that they could rewrite the narrative and tell us something different, almost like Chicago went through a reset in about the 1890s to the 19.
Yo, that guy made a really good point. I never even thought about that. The fires, they wouldn't really destroy these things. And you know how that's kind of obvious is that we still see some old buildings like completely fireproof, like that, like fires go through and these things don't really get damaged. And these magnificent buildings, they had 18-inch thick walls. That's 3 feet, right? No, that's a foot and a half.
Yeah, 18 inches, foot and a
That's
half.
pretty
That's how
thick.
long my.
Have
Oh,
you
sorry.
seen a wall? Have
Yes,
you ever
sir.
have you ever seen a wall that's that a foot thick or like naturally a wall for a building?
I don't think I have, to be honest.
Bro, I mean, I can only think of like banks, which is even fascinating because some of these banks are definitely of that old world type.
Yeah, you would like coming to San Francisco, man. There's such these. If the Palace of Fine Arts isn't the only weird ass old building that's just sitting there in the hills, there's these like massive churches that look almost reminiscent of like medieval castles, just sitting, and then people's houses around them, and it's crazy. There's like this old theater that got turned into a crunch fitness gym, and I don't know, like these people are saying, it's just crazy how we're kind of marching over the the ancient remnants of our time. And it's like, we had this giant theater with all this magnificent like architecture, and now it's a gym. Now there's like people on treadmills inside of it. The outside it's crazy looking, and then you walk in and it's a gym. It's insane.
This is the old reset. I'm looking at another post right here. This is a very new video. It's like 7 minutes long, and it's describing that a couple hundred years ago we went through this old reset, this reset of all these buildings, right? And we hear Klaus Schwab and New World Order and Davos and the Bilderberg in current day talk about a new great reset because they understand that their ancestors had already implemented a reset.
How many
Um,
resets do you think have been done already?
I don't think too many. if I think what I think is true, then in the 1600s, 1500s, when this whole Columbus for the brand new world to create the new world order was implemented. It's been a 500-year battle and process for our souls and for the information of reality. Um, because yeah, in their main voyage, they said they wanted to experience a new world and create a new world order. That was one of the original goals, right? So what have we seen? We've seen the Revolution War in the 1700s that wiped out all. Okay, the Revolutionary War was this big old distraction of whitewashing, of taking away the Native Americans. They genocided the Native American population, and they made everybody think, oh, it's the Revolutionary War, let's get over here with these guys, and then they like took everybody's eyes off the real thing that they were doing, which was taking the lands in the caves. So oh man, when we look at the way that these territories were built, the way that these native tribes were pushed into certain areas, right? How much of America is actually restricted land by the military? A lot. It's been that way for a couple hundred years, right? So they've been purposely uh game planning and mapping out their takeover to certain areas. And in the Discord, I know that I try to hint on that there's like this secret that George Washington and the Masons and their secret society members all knew about Washington State and why they have his face here, why they sent Lewis and Clark over here specifically to find something in these mountains, to find some type of culture. Well, okay, going on into the 1800s, that was the Civil War. That made everybody forget about the liberties of it kind of the liberties of true freedom. It kind of started sectoring everybody into the idea of this revolution, of this new revolution that we got to be a part of. What you're going to be part of the industrial complex, and then you're gonna have to be part of this nationalism. Started really getting into this nationalistic type of idea where instead of it took people out of the earth element and put people in this more refined element. And that was the next part of the reset. Because before that, before the 1600s, 1500s, I think the whole world was onto the true spirituality, the true earth ways of life. They had their cultures, they had their cows, they had their farming, it's natural, normal, nomadic type of things. Yes, people went to war, but it wasn't as serious. It almost seems like after the 1600s, now we started seeing this complete new world order where what happened in the 1900s. That was the stock market. The stock market controlled the world. With the birth of the Federal Reserve and the stock market and all what they started putting into plan over the last 200 years,
Wall
it controlled
Street.
the world. Yeah, Wall Street binded the world through its anus. Sorry for the profanity, guys, for all my Christians out there. But no, I mean literally, it made everybody suck up, so that now people didn't want to be that natural earthly farmer or the natural person. They needed to be. Oh, I need to be a businessman. I need to go ahead and get with the civil liberties of nationality, and I need to be like the professional and the lawyers and yada yada yada. And it put everybody in this cycle, right? The spin cycle of death, pretty much. And so there has been these few resets, but I don't think it's been this bad forever. I don't think so. I mean, if we're looking at something, a war, maybe it's like we're seeing God's personal resets, and then these secret societies and these devils and these fallen angels do their own type of resets. So there's been I guess that God has reset through the flood and stuff, but nothing like what we're seeing now. I mean, at least when the flood, God gave Noah a chance. uh, these demon worshippers aren't even giving anybody a chance.
I mean, So have you? Okay, So I don't know, man. It's such a vague. Like, there's so many possibilities running through my head right now. There's just I wouldn't be able to pick one accurately to kind of just give the best answer for what I think. I just think, man, there's just so much. Like you said, it's just a war going on, and then they're just trying to clean it up, and they're just trying to. But I guess my question to that is, why now though? What was the difference between the Great Reset that happened in the 1600s to make them want to reset it to the one to the 1800s to the one to the 1900s? What is going on now? Is it that just we're becoming more perceptually aware of them and their purpose, and they don't want us to fight back? Are we? Was that their goal?
This is where I think it gets biblical, where I think that in some true aspect, where the return of Jesus Christ is going to come and save a lot of people, scares the controllers, scares the people who want to make all the money. And these guys have been, you know, crafty and shifty and doing magic for hundreds or thousands of years. Ever the book of Enoch says that, you know, the fallen angels, you know, made it with the women and men on earth, right? God casted them down. Well, what do these fallen angels and these giants and these Nephilim all do? They all did with witchcraft, and they did, you know, magic. They metal smithing and all sorts of technologies. You know, that's kind of what we see when we look at the ancient past, right? When we look at all these different cultures, there's definitely some magic. There's definitely some creativity. There's definitely some mystical type of stuff, like real mystical, you know, not just pyramids, but like real magic that's being used in these cultures. You know, voodoo or whatever it is, you know, vermanas or whatever it is. There's definitely some technologies and there's some magic. Well, I guess where the Bible comes in is that, yeah, like there's supposed to be a time where the end times or the rapture or the all this that type of aspect of the Bible is coming to fruition. And if these fallen angels and these bloodlines where we see Prince Charles and the Queen talk about how they're related to Vlad the Impaler, and Vlad the Impaler says he was like a bloodline of Lucifer, right? If these guys all believe that, and if they're over here talking about who they worship, and these guys are all dealing with demons and the actual remnants of this dark spiritual empire, then what we're seeing over the last couple hundred years is the rush from them, the increase in them. They want to go ahead and, you know, bring about their destruction more. They're like, hey, we need they need to hurry it up. They need to control everybody more. They need to get people away from God. They need to get people thinking about the wrong genders, eating the wrong foods, not caring about their families, their brothers, their mothers, their fathers, their dogs. They're not caring about the gardens. They're not even caring about pollution or how, you know, how we should be loving. You know, they're teaching people to be hateful, right? So it's all inverted, right? Because of their teachings over the last couple hundred years, it's been a stronger force. And we can see from the WikiLeaks documents where Hillary Clinton and all of her goonies, like Obama and all of them, you know, Clintons and all, right? They want to bring about the return of the Antichrist. Them and their Jewish Zionist lovers, they don't believe in the Jesus Christ. They believe in their Antichrist. See, Antichrist doesn't mean the evil Christ, the evil one. Antichrist in the ancient terms means the false Christ, right? So they want to bring about the false, you know, the false teachings. Well, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this destruction, this false reality, right? It kind of plays into an idea that we were talking about before we recorded, a Mandela effect a little bit, where, like, you know, people talk about the Mandela effect, and I believe that there is for sure like this quote unquote Mandela effect because of the rulers, right? Where we've seen these videos right here with the World's Fairs, there's there's things that people want to destroy and make people forget about, and then tell people, oh, it never really existed. That's the Mandela effect, right? Well, it's the same book burners that have been here for a couple thousand years, the same people who wanted to destroy the truth. You know, in the Bible, it's Jesus says, this is not my kingdom, for if it was my kingdom, I would not be hunted down by the Jews and you know, hated and wanted to be killed. Well, furthermore, it talks about the Jews in Acts and in some of these passages where it says, beware of those who say they are Jews but really are of the temple of Satan, the church of Satan. Well, you know, these secret society members have been here for thousands of years, been here for a long time, you know, hiding in certain groups, and you know, wanting to destroy humanity and distract and divide humanity from the truth, from what we know, what we knew, what is right, and turn it into what is wrong. And so over the last 100 years, we're seeing this increase, this like rapid movement. You know, they want to uh how okay, the whole facial recognition and digital identity and this quote unquote mark of the beast, that's extremely important. If there's online internet and AI and computers or people who are behind the phone, then they know your every single action and they can control you, manipulate you, punish you. That's very satanic. And it's not just a security measure. No, like, it's not God controlling you anymore. It's a false God. It's
It's their representation of God, or what
false
they
leader.
perceive their God is.
Yeah, it's a false leader. I got a comment right here. What's this comment say? What is this? Well, it's a podcast, man. What you talking about? So
Come on, bro. It's a
you know,
podcast. He's got a C4 sponsor. It's like 300 episodes, bro. And you just listening. Come on, homie. Put some respect on the homie's name, bro.
Oliver's Travels right there. You need to go to Gilligan's Island.
509 Define Pines, homie. That's a real out there, bro. You need to get up on it, homie. Go back and listen to every episode, bro. Start right now.
Hey, there's at least 300 hours that you can check out, man.
Have you heard of the Valley of the, what's it called? Valley of the Headless. Ah, shit. I can't think of the name right now.
He said he didn't know what it means, and he's sorry. Hey, it's all good, man. Appreciate
I'm just
you.
messing with you, bro.
Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate this. So
yeah, I'm just giving you stuff.
So you got to ask, like, why is it speeding up, or why is it seemingly to be getting worse? Well, it's because they want to take us away from our truth. You know, if there's some good spirit or good guy out there above who wants to help us out, named Jesus Christ, then, and these haters want to take us away from it, of course they're gonna try to hurry up and, oh shit,
what?
I fucking unplugged myself on accident. Yeah, man. Let's go ahead, watch this 7-minute video about the World's Fairs, and this is the last reset right here that we were talking about.
Hey, buddy. Before you start it, I'm gonna say thank you, man. I gotta get going.
Times.
All right,
like for
all right, brother.
I'm trying to stay awake.
Hey, I appreciate you. No, it is late, and you gotta go ahead and get you rest, man. I appreciate this. It's been about
maybe
an
we can
hour,
do it again. I enjoyed it, bro. I enjoyed it a lot. I like your topics, the way you handle it, your format. This is some good stuff, and I would like to pick your brain a lot more, man. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, dude, I definitely enjoyed you coming on last minute. I know I sent a last minute text out there for the chat, and you handled it, man. You stepped up and you went to the plate and knocked it out of the park, man. I appreciate this. If do you want anybody to follow you on socials? If not, man, you just you can go ahead and tell people a little bit, like a positive message. I guess you can tell them a positive message, and then
No, I don't really. Okay. No, I mean, I don't really have that many socials. If you got Discord, I'm in the OBDM Discord. I'm in the Madhouse Discord, Madhouse Live, or for Carlito and the prank stuff, and then I'm in the Phone Losers one too. If you want to follow me, in terms of a positive message, dude. Like I was telling, I think I was talking. No, I was talking to supplemental. What's his name in OBDM? I was
Supplement
telling
King.
him, yeah.
That's me, bro.
Oh, then I was telling you. I was telling you then.
Yeah.
I was telling you, bro. Just, the battles are you against yourself and how you let the things that are out of your control, the external factors, get in the way of you doing the things you want to do. Your life is like this dark path, and you have a lantern in your hand, and with the better choices you make, the lantern seemingly gets brighter and brighter, ultimately giving you an easier and better path to take. And now, you can choose to do that, or you could take a darker path in life. So all these choices we have, it all depends on how mentally strong or mentally, um, how much willpower you have to let it bother you and eat at you and affect you. So what I would say is just, keep your head up. Like you said, it's mostly spirituality, but before spirituality, you hit that level, it's mind, body, and soul. Just got to be strong and diligent and have confidence in yourself, and you'll be able to go through anything. You'll be able to overcome anything. I've overcame a bunch of different shit. Like you, I just started working out, and I'm in really good shape again. And there was a point in time where I didn't think I'd be at this point ever again in my life. I'm almost I'm almost in as good a shape as I was in my early 20s.
Nice, man.
So yeah,
And
it's a good feeling.
hey, bro, you spoke a real message right here. There's a guy in the chat, such longboards, and he's saying thank you because saying he's been in a dark path too damn long, and he feels that this is a deep message that resonated, man. So I appreciate you speaking out, and it's true. Like with what we've discussed over tonight on this episode, and everything that I've discussed in all of my episodes, my 200 episodes, like there is light at the end of the tunnel. That we can't just let ourselves be drowned out. Like if we're a tree, if we're a seed, if we're a plant, if we're gonna grow, we're gonna have to take a little bit of water and turn it into energy, right? We're gonna need that sunlight and turn it into energy. We're gonna need to grow. We can't just look at the covering and look at the darkness and think we're never gonna grow. There's a lot to look forward, a lot to be grateful for. Everything that's been around us, shaping us, are the pets, our family, our sports, or small experiences that we've had in daily interactions, has all built us for something. And it's not just going to be thrown to waste because there's going to be a leech in life, a hater in life, this negativity in life. Man, if all the millionaires or billionaires out there ever stopped when they had one problem, they wouldn't be a millionaire, they wouldn't be a billionaire. If, I don't think that any of us in the chat are going to be billionaires. Hopefully, maybe actually, I hope that some of us do become millionaires in this chat. But we just got to
You
be
better loan me
optimistic.
some money if you do. You better loan me at least 10, right?
Hey, this such a longboard says, "God bless you and have a good night, man." He's switching up.
Oh
Just like we
man.
happen. Hey, man. May the good Lord Jesus Christ be with this brother out there. Who knows what he's going through, but the Lord knows that there is strength. It's strength in him. There's strength in the brothers around, and there's strength in listening to good word and good vibrations. Have that positivity. To have it, you're gonna need people who know it, right? You can't just think positive by being around negativity. And appreciate you for being here. It was destined that you were here, man. May the good Lord be with you. Amen.
Amen. All right,
Hey,
buddy. Thanks again, bro. I appreciate you. Let's do this again. What is it, next Monday or something? I might be in a better.
yeah, bro, yeah, we're on Discord together. We'll go ahead and discuss. You're free to hop on anytime that you want. Mondays through Fridays, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be on my normal broadcasting energy. That is what I set out to do for the last few years, and sometimes I stayed to it. Sometimes I had to switch and do like different broadcast times, but for the most part, I'm gonna be doing 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time episodes. So whenever you want, man, feel free to hop in, bro. You could be a co-host because I need more consistent co-hosts too. So if you want to do every Monday, every other Monday, but whatever, just hit me up. And
All right, bro. I got you. We could talk about it. Have a good rest of your night. God bless.
hey, I appreciate it. God bless.
Bye.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit more of this World's Fair right here. Check it out. So we got this 7-minute video. I'm gonna let you guys just enjoy. I'm not even gonna talk. I'm just gonna let you guys enjoy because this is powerful information. If we, there's that saying, if we don't know where we came from, then we don't know where we're going. If we don't know our history, then we're doomed to repeat it. So it's good to understand what came in the past, who, how, why, where went wrong, or what exactly is going on. So that way we know about the tactics or people or agendas that are going to be happening in the future. I mean, everybody's calling, I'm not, let's just get into it. Let's just watch this video.
They seem to construct a lot of these fairs after really strange times. Like, for example, here's just one view of the Chicago World's Fair, and it was supposedly all built within 2 years of time, 800 acres of land, and it was built about 20 years after the entire city of Chicago was decimated by a fire. And then if you actually look at the San Francisco World's Fair too, it's just as odd because the San Francisco World's Fair, I believe, was built about 9 years after the San Francisco earthquake, and then there was also a fire. So instead of rebuilding their cities, which apparently they also did, they also had time to build these really extravagant World's Fairs.
Right as this sort of period ends of unbelievable strangeness, and all of a sudden these fairs spring up all over the world with impossible buildings we're talking about, which are colossal structures. Chicago built 700 acres of fair in supposedly less than 2 years. St. Louis built 1,200 acres of exposition buildings. One of the buildings in Chicago, the manufacturer's building, would house 300,000 people. There's a giant statue in the middle of the lagoon. It was called the Golden Lady, and it was known as the Statue of the Republic. It was 65 feet tall. They say it was covered in gold leaf that had copper underneath, but others speculate it was actually made out of solid gold. So you're talking 65-foot high, potentially solid gold statue. We're talking giant structures and looking like ancient Rome with towers and domes and columns and the most fine, ornate pieces to them in these record, unbelievable times. Then as soon as they're done, chuck them in the garbage. They had a canal system that ran through the entire exposition. They also had an above-ground electric train. An electric train, well, where's the electricity coming from? That's running around the park. They had a moving walkway down by the shore. Not enough people are asking, where does this technology come from? It was certainly more than all of the lights anyway that were in New York City at the time were at the Chicago Exposition.
Now, it must have been mind-blowing for most of those people who had only seen gaslight or candlelight at night to see that city lit up in such a way. Again, count the ways. It's 1901. We are told, whether it's true or not, the idea of being able to electrically do anything hasn't been around that long.
And this fair is bizarre. This is supposed to be Tesla's fair, where he managed to somehow move electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo for the fair. No one's really explained how he actually did that. And at the middle of the fair is a 395-foot high electrical tower. on top of which, of course, is a female golden statue called the Goddess of Light. And this thing was lit up by some suggest 500,000 electric light bulbs. Again, when you look at the photos of this thing, it's just, where do they really get the power from?
I mean, think of what it would take today if you had a place with no electricity and no way to pipe it in, the generators that would have to be built.
For example, there's a building that went up for the Barcelona exposition in 1888. It was claimed to be the fastest built building in the world, 5,000 square meters, capacity for 2,000 guests, 600 rooms, 30 apartments, and it was supposed to be built in 53 days. This is supposed to be a time of horse and buggy. The 2-year building times are actually impossible unless the two most likely theories would be either A, they had a technology that they're not supposed to have, and it really was built in that time frame. Even if they built them, they had to build them out of marble and stone in record time, or the buildings were already there. And then what was amazing, for example, in St. Louis, 2 days after the fair ended, they brought in a demolition team from Chicago with explosives and blew the thing up. They actually used dynamite to blow it up, and they say threw it in landfills. Things like the World Fairs shows there was a time in our past, and even not that far in our past, where humans seem to be at a completely higher level. Human living and human knowledge were constructed into the buildings using cymatics, using sacred geometry. These fairs, they're so important to study because the history that we know right now as history was invented at the time these fairs were going on. One of their underlying nefarious purposes was to teach a historical narrative to the population that they were supposed to believe and agree with. And scarily, the world we're walking into today is in some way has its origins during the time of these fairs.
This is the only building left. It's the Museum of Science, which is still there in Chicago today, but it's not the same as it was in the fair. They took away all the interiors with the marble and stuff, and it's not the same building anymore in many ways. This is the 1964 fair in the USA. Don't quite. If you type 1964, I think it's in New York. To be honest, how can you tell me? I mean, the budget, the money allocated by those who did the fair for this 1964 is way bigger than for this. How can you compare this fair from 1964 with this one from 1893? And you're telling me that the same humanity built this as this? Why do we have this at the end of the 19th century so majestic, imperial, Atlantic, like Atlantis looking like, super awesome, mega impressive, and you compare it with this? It doesn't make any sense. You see my point? If our human race are the builders of this and of this, then they would build something more majestic in 1964, 70 years after the 1893 Colombian expedition. But no. And that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to look at the fires. Everything is burning in fire. Tell me how something built in marble and stone can perish in normal fire. This is Chicago, the city, at the same time when the fair was being made. It was kind of interesting. This comes to me. Suppose like they're saying like those are the construction dates of those buildings. Chicago, the same with San Francisco, the same with like the big cities of the US and Canada and Russia and China and Australia and all of South America in the big majority of places, as well as African countries as well, in the country that finish in Stan in Asia, and also in Germany and other places. It's just, something is fishy.
That is the first time that I've seen an in-depth look at this World Fair and all the videos. Right, I've never seen that San Francisco light show. That's it's almost leaving me speechless. I mean, I know that how do I say this? I know that our ancient ancestors were way smarter and way more advanced than the elites of these days want us to know about and want us to understand. I just had zero clue about how intricate these civilizations were from this video. I mean, what we see is definitely some, like, he said it like Atlantean. It almost seems this Olympian. The uh Longboard saying he's obsessed with the columns and the architecture. Yeah, it seems like there's this majestic divine nature to these patterns and to the buildings. Like, we just had on DTB as a guest, and he's saying that in San Francisco, the Museum of Arts, that's ancient, it provides this peace, this tranquility. um in the ancient past, these cultures knew how to build with, like, the highest level of consciousness of peace, and actually instill peaceful vibes through the architecture. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, right? But, like, everything has a resonance. If colors can alter emotions, you can bet that, like, certain vibrancies and frequencies and different materials can too. It's just, you gotta think, like, who were the builders, right? And that's where I think the giants were. Like, eh, we hear about in ancient cultures, the giants built a lot of things, and it wasn't just too long ago that giants were like part of actual society. There's this episode from the confessionals or tinfoil hat where they talk about the 1854 or 1864, is it, the battle of the giants, the where the tribesmen of the city, and over in Kentucky, I believe, or something like that, they went and battled giants. There's been numerous tales from the Indian cultures where they were battling giants. It's fascinating to think that just oh my gosh, just a couple hundred years ago, we were living in a different world, completely different world, where even other cultures in Europe, they have fairy stones and they have fairy roads and they have road and things for dwarves and elves, and there were laws, like real laws about this, and there's like actual records of these instances going on, like dragons and elves and all this magical stuff, right? So that's all fallen angel Nephilim type of stuff, where they're the remnants of the dark ones, of or even of the lost ones or the fallen ones, right? um and I could see why it is taken out of society for some part, but it's being completely resetted, brainwashed, hidden, washed over, whatever way we want to say it. And it's unbelievable to even think, like, I'm still a little shocked on what uh the videos I saw tonight, right? There, the amount of technology and electricity and intelligence that was here just a couple hundred years ago just baffles me. It is by far one of the greatest mysteries that you can look into, and it's not a conspiracy. This is like actual truth that, early in the 1900s and late 1800s and so forth, we had world fairs, and the remnants of the world fairs and the tales and the pictures just don't add up when we know. I mean, this is just I've been thinking about this all night. How the doctors over the last 4 or 5 years were completely brainwashed and whitewashed over, and like, they were, people try to hide them, kill them, remove them from history, make people think that some of these doctors who were saying zinc and magnesium and ivermectin and vitamin C or cures, they were getting killed. They were getting, like, their professions taken away. uh it's this completely whitewash of history. There's these elites, or these people, or these reptilians, these vampires, whatever they are, who cares? They're evil guys. They're guys with a lot of money, and they make evil decisions. They want to destroy our history, take away what's good, and like if we're looking at these World Fair videos, and these guys, there's legit technology like moving stairwells or walkways. So the moving walkways were for the rich people, where they could get off their boats and step onto the walkway with their luggage and not have to move it. They were pretty much like what we see in airports these days, where people can instead of walking, they can stand on this motorized walkway, and then it just takes them like 100 yards or so. That's what the World's Fairs had 100 years ago.
7 years
Let's check
before
this out.
7 years
This is a 2-minute video. We're gonna go into it. Yes, longboards. That we were dressed better. We were definitely dressed better. Check this out.
before the electric moving sidewalk was featured at the 1900 Paris World's Fair, a similar innovation was unveiled in Chicago at the 1893 World's Fair. This early version was installed on the 2,500-foot-long pier and was designed to assist passengers arriving and departing by steamship. The moving sidewalk facilitated movement to and from the Casino Peristyle, a triumphal arch that served as a grand gateway to the White City, the heart of the fair. For just 5 cents, visitors could ride this groundbreaking attraction for as long as they wished, enjoying the cool Lake Michigan breeze. Elevated 5 feet above the pier, the system consisted of 3 interconnected boardwalk-like sections arranged in a one-way, continuously moving loop. The first section was stationary, allowing passengers to board via a short flight of stairs from any of a dozen entrance gates. Next was the first mobile section, moving at a modest 3 miles per hour and equipped with upright posts, topped with knobs for stability while boarding. The third and final section featured benches for seated passengers and moved slightly faster at 6 miles per hour. With nearly a mile of seating and the capacity to carry up to 6,000 passengers at a time, it had a relatively compact footprint. The total length was 4,300 feet, with straight sections measuring 1,668 feet on each side of the partition and loops measuring approximately 482 feet. In total, there were 351 cars linked together, each weighing 2,800 pounds. Period articles from the time remarked on its nearly silent operation, noting that it was barely perceptible from just 25 feet away. The electric moving sidewalk transported nearly 1 million people without injury, demonstrating the potential of such technology.
I want to show you guys something. You see this dude? You see how tall he is that I'm pointing at? Everybody else is around him is normal height. This guy is like at least 7 foot tall. There were legitimate giants.
Its efficiency was impressive, accommodating 500 people per minute and delivering up to 35,000 people per hour. It's fascinating to imagine what might have been if this vision of civil engineering had been further developed and expanded into the heart of modern cities. However, despite its success and the great enthusiasm of nearly everyone who visited, the future of the White City was already doomed. Chicago's South Park Commission had plans to demolish the fairgrounds, much to the public's dismay. But on the night of January 7, 1894, a fire conveniently swept through the White City, consuming nearly everything in a blazing inferno, including the majority of the moving sidewalk.
Insane right there. I had no idea that walkway was so intricate. It's interesting. That was a recreation. That wasn't even one of the original ones that they had or found. Let's check this out.
Fair, also known as the Columbian Exposition. More than 130 years ago, the city of Chicago, Illinois seemed too grand to be real. This was the location of the 1893 World's Fair, also known as the Columbian Exposition. At the heart of this historical phenomenon was an ephemeral metropolis known as the White City. The fairgrounds sprawled over 600 acres, featuring more than 200 monumental structures that defied imagination. The manufacturers and liberal arts building alone covered nearly 32 acres. With the capacity to fit 4 of the great Roman Colosseum inside and seat 300,000 people, its vastness was almost incomprehensible. One of the event's most iconic images is the 65-foot golden statue of the Republic, gleaming in the sun and towering over the central lagoon of an elaborate canal system. Borrowing ideas from ancient Venice, visitors could cover more territory by traveling in Venetian-style gondolas through the canals that spanned most of the fairgrounds. Norway even sailed a full-sized replica of a Viking ship across the ocean to be put on display. Approximately 27 million people from around the world were introduced to foods that have since become universally recognizable, such as peanut butter, Hershey's chocolate, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Cracker Jacks, Juicy Fruit gum, and Vienna sausages, to name a few. The integration of electrical power into nearly every aspect of our lives can, in many ways, be traced back to this event. Electricity lit the night, with the grounds illuminated by more than 100,000 incandescent light bulbs, a recently patented invention at the time. Technological marvels such as the first practical electric automobile and the first electric kitchen with an automatic dishwasher were also introduced. The entertainment area brought to the public the concept of amusement parks, with attractions, sideshows, international villages, and the first widespread use of souvenir merchandise like postcards, coins, and other memorabilia. Interestingly, spray paint and the concept of whitewashing can also be traced to the fair. The very first Ferris wheel was created for the event by bridge builder and steel magnate George Washington Gale Ferris. As the story goes, he sought to rival the Eiffel Tower, the highlight of the 1889 Paris Fair. At 264 feet tall, his wheel could accommodate 2,160 people at a time and offered panoramic views of the entire fairgrounds. The precursor to the electric moving sidewalk from the 1900 Paris Expo was also debuted in Chicago. It was constructed on the pier to save people from having to walk the 2,500-foot length to and from their steamships. Much like its successor in Paris, there were multiple platforms moving at different speeds in a looping circuit. The first platform was for standing and moved at only 3 miles per hour, while the second, fitted with benches, moved slightly faster at 6 miles per hour. As we delve deeper into the World's Fair events, a pattern begins to emerge, one that seems to defy the conventional history we've all been taught. In cities all over the world, we consistently see the same grand and ornate structures, civil engineering and infrastructure projects being constructed on a colossal scale within an impossible time frame. Less than 30 years after the Civil War, we find cities like Chicago looking as if they could be part of Vatican City or anywhere else in Old World Europe. Yet we're told that everything was built using wood, plaster, and temporary materials, with the intention of demolishing them when the fair ended. However, without exception, some isolated buildings still stand today because some were constructed with permanent materials. Everything else got destroyed. But we get a glimpse of the craftsmanship involved through structures like the Art Institute of Chicago and the Museum of Science and Industry. In Chicago's case, the majority of the fairgrounds didn't need to be demolished because they were conveniently destroyed by fire a few months after the event ended. Why were certain ones constructed from permanent materials? And why did they so often hold the title of the world's largest building at the time? It raises the question, how could the world's largest buildings have been constructed using mostly temporary materials? Are we to believe that just over a century ago, people made a habit of building some of the largest, most magnificent, and ornate buildings ever seen, only to use them for a few months? Even if we disregard the buildings themselves, the earthworks involved in these projects would challenge modern capabilities and equipment under such tight timelines. And most importantly, why would they do all of this just to destroy it? Could the World's Fair events have been the perfect cover to hide the remnants of a unified global system that existed before the upheaval of the Civil War and 2 world wars were used to reshape our world? The similarities between the narratives surrounding the fairs, the architecture, and the scale all seem to point to something more than coincidence. It suggests a carefully orchestrated erasure of a past we were never meant to remember. We have to ask ourselves, how much of our history has been rewritten? What has been lost? And how much has been hidden in plain sight?
There is one thing about these fairs that shocks me that I haven't covered yet. And I'm gonna go ahead and read some of the chat. they burned down Coney Island. I'm gonna have to look into that, but I did hear that. Yes, World War II and World War One was a takeover of the world. It was a Zionist takeover of the world, or something of that sort. A secret society takeover of the world. I'm gonna go and discuss though. I guess I can put the videos up if Twitter has them. Well, the World's Fairs, there were some very interesting things called baby farms or orphan trains that I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Check this out. This is part of it.
Official College, Josephinum.
Yeah. So around that same time of the brainwashing and the washing over of history, on these trains across the nation, there were like orphan trains and baby incubators, and they were even at the World's Fairs. And they didn't discuss it in the videos, but at the World's Fairs, there were baby incubators, chambers, and incubators. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but you could go buy a baby if you wanted to. That's the easiest way to describe it. You could go buy a baby at these World Fairs. That is not a joke. You can research it. That is a well-known thing, and I'm gonna go ahead and discuss it a little bit more. I'm gonna let a video show you first.
It's important narratives to this point, to our research, in my opinion. We have the Pontifical College, Josephinum, where Joseph comes over to the USA from Germany in 1867. 3 years later, he becomes a priest and has his own church within a few months. And he gets to buy the house next door, of course, to support 12 orphans. And do we all know about the orphans at this point? Possibly a repopulation tactic that was going on in the 1800s. It's very interesting. Was it only 12 orphans? Or was this one of the places that they would send the orphans through to get them into society? Because who would ever question Joseph the priest from the 1800s? You know, the guy that just randomly shows up from Germany, has all the money ready to buy houses somehow, to support orphans. It all checks out, of course. Simple stuff for Joseph. This was known as the St. Joseph Orphan Asylum. It grew so rapidly for some weird and, of course, very random reason that 5 years after it began, Joseph moved the operation closer to the railroad, which is how these individuals would be dispersed throughout the country. So this is a paragraph of admission. We are being told, down to the smallest detail, how this operation worked. It would go through churches. They would bring a manager type over from Europe, call them a priest, give them a house, give them the resources to run these operations, purchasing new buildings with ease to run the program. So not only do you have the World's Fairs that were a repopulation tactic, you had these orphan trains and orphan hubs where they would be dropped off and planted into society. The new facility that Joseph was just finding and saying was his. I want to make that clear. He wasn't building anything. He was given these buildings that were already there from the previous civilization. So the new building gave the orphans a training in the trades. So this Joseph guy was obviously sent with a purpose to repopulate and teach to a brand new society, one that didn't have any skills. This right here is how you reset a society's technology level. The teacher is never in charge of what the students.
Oh man. Oh man. That is one of 4 of those videos. I'm gonna try to find the other 3. So, they're taking out how much Native American people by the 1600s? They've killed about 100 million Native American people, and the lands are barren. There's nobody here in America anymore. They killed 100 people, 100 million. Well, they needed a civilization. They needed people in these towns. Man, oh man, this is where all the people come from. So we're gonna continue on with part 2, 3, and 4 of this. I apologize. I thought I played the video. I did not. Sorry for that wait.
Of what the students learn. This Joseph character is a teacher of a class. He is not the principal of the school. There are many schools. He is clearly taking direction as to what the students of the new society will learn. There were many classes like this one all over the country happening simultaneously. This was an operation. This went on for 12 years with zero backstory. Finds the Collegium, Josephinum, this massive college, is just found and ready to roll. No clue where the money came from. No mention of how many men were needed to build this place. Just found it. And its first class of 23 men began. It's unbelievable. This is one of the most important stories to our research, in my opinion, because it shows exactly how the operation took place. It's actually laying it all out there and shows us exactly how they repopulated these regions in the USA. It shows us the operation with the orphans, the teaching programs. And this was our base for our technological knowledge. Whoever controlled this operation from the top has all of the technology from the previous civilization and is controlling what technology we get to have. And they've clearly been doing this for a very long time. And for anyone that's on the fence, we have the St. Vincent's Infant Asylum located in Baltimore, where we have tunnels under the ground. This infant asylum was in use in the mid-1800s during the same time period as German transferred Joseph. And what do you know? In the early 1900s, the operation was done. And they declined new orphans. 1941, they changed this to apartments. And in 2015, they light it up and try to destroy it with a fire, but they fail. So 3 years later, what do you think happens? 2018, the building was illegally demolished without a permit. You literally can't make this stuff up. It gets more and more obvious. If you're still on the fence, let's go even deeper. We have the St. Mary's Orphan Asylum, located in Galveston, Texas, where they tell us that this one is haunted. Now, I've talked about hauntings before briefly. I'm not going to say that there aren't any hauntings. Haunted. Now, I've talked about hauntings before briefly. I'm not going to say that there aren't any hauntings, but when it comes to these old world buildings, I think it was a tactic to keep people away from them. Just say that they're haunted, and it scares everyone away from investigating. So we have yet again another orphan operation going on in the mid-1800s. And I'm just going to let you know that this is going on and on and on. There were so many orphan operations going on in the mid-1800s because this was how they were repopulating these cities. So where were all these kids' parents? Is this where a lot of our families originated from? Is this why the family trees in the USA almost all end around the same time period? We are told hundreds of fire stories through the first 52 episodes. We know that that is the key. and the nod that it's a building that was constructed by the previous civilization. The St. Mary's Orphan Asylum. For anyone wondering where the parents of these orphans were, you might want to check the other asylum, the insane asylum, because they were not going along with the reset. Here's a graph showing that the insane asylums are disappearing over time. And I wonder why. Good thing they cared so much about us in 1955 and 1965, because surely that was the fix. Oh, it wasn't? And then a fire had devastated the St. Mary's Orphan Asylum in 1875. If anyone is still on the fence, there is room over here to get off the fence. And honestly, who would want to sit on top of a fence anyway? So we have Ohio, Baltimore, Texas. We have all these towns and cities being repopulated. Brand new people, brand new social structures, brand new mindsets, and resetting what people are taught. This all happened around 150 years ago. So this is all very new. This isn't thousands of years ago. Then we have another very interesting aspect of this in Germany during the same exact time period. And remember, we also have good old Joseph from earlier, also from Germany. So here we are given the Kinder Beware install from earlier, also from Germany. So here we are given the Kinder Beware install. And if I pronounce that wrong, I hope you all understand. This is where we are given kindergarten, another tactic to teach children the brand new social structures. What better way to trick people? Take them out of their family's home and tell them what to think, and then test them on it. Failing the test will then lower your self-esteem, putting a social pressure on children to agree with this new way of thought, or they will be called dumb and get an F. This is an operation. It's all connected, and it's designed to enslave the world's population. Year after year, we are all taught a false narrative. We've all been brainwashed into thinking that you are either smart or dumb based on a curriculum that holds zero value in the real world. Now, who knows if this Frederick Froebel was even a real character, but they do admit that kindergarten starts in Germany around the exact same time period that we're talking about, the mid-1800s. So I wanted to tie it all in with the rest of the world. This is a worldwide operation. This is not just the USA. We have a lot of things in the USA being controlled through Germany during this time period, especially the education aspect of it. And I want to point out that yes, we have borders and division now. We have so many countries in the world, and everyone is separated. And you're unable to travel to other lands unless you have a piece of paper that is registered and checked at the checkpoints. But who's to say that there even was a border in the previous civilization? Were there so-called elected leaders controlling everyone, deciding what we can and cannot do? Could they have had a truly free life where they were able to travel wherever they want freely and not feel like they're invading someone else's territory? I would say, in my opinion, this was the world that was here before the reset. And something happened where this past civilization was wiped out and their technology was stolen by a group, and some of it.
Man, oh man, oh man. This is a very revealing episode that I got going on tonight, guys. Make sure to share this out with all of your friends. It's some real deal stuff right now that we're uncovering, because if we see that they're doing this now, or they did this before, then what might they want from our future? What happened in Ukraine and Palestine over the last 4 years? It's been, I mean, even Lahaina just got completely destroyed and all the kids were taken. All right, let's check this video out right here.
Know that in our not so distant past, babies were created and incubated en masse.
Oh yeah, you were talking about Coney Island. Well, look at the incubator babies of Coney Island, buddy.
Created and incubated en masse. This happened and was showcased as attractions at the World Fairs and even in New York's Coney Island. Can you even imagine carnival attractions where people paid to watch babies growing in incubators? Where were the parents? What happened to all of the babies? Well, have you heard of the orphan trains? They were packed off and shipped out west to help repopulate the great Tartarian cities found abandoned across the land. They were sent to humongous orphanages, and the people were able to get orphans to work their farms and factories. Free labor was abundant, and it was needed to rebuild after the last reset. There is loads of evidence showing that the original Cabbage Patch Kids were these orphans which people just simply picked up and took home like fresh produce. Many children were basically indentured servants and were subjected to lifelong slave labor and sexual abuse. Everything they taught you is a lie. America was covered with empty Tartarian cities, left to rot after the Great Reset, and those that followed grew a few millions babies to repopulate and rebuild. They dug out those cities and started over. Research Tartaria and ask questions. Suspend your disbelief. Like, follow, and share.
Unique social experiment unfolded across the United States, one that saw thousands of orphaned and homeless children transported from crowded coastal cities to the rural Midwest. This was the era of the orphan trains. This unusual chapter in American history began in the 1850s, a time of immense urban poverty.
Man, oh man. I'm gonna go ahead and check up if there's any more videos. Very interesting stuff that we're uncovering tonight, guys.
Slave labor and sexual abuse.
Let's see.
Empty Tartarian cities, left to rot after the Great Reset, and those that followed grew a few million. They dug out questions.
Jesus,
they dug.
Man, it's. I think that we're gonna wrap it up tonight, man. That's a heavy episode, and it's been about 2 hours. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Well, yeah, might take a break. Might call it tonight. I'm gonna take a commercial. I will be right back. So, just one moment.
Not new, what I do. I've been at it for a minute, pursuing, doing the damage. New, I would do everything that I said I would do. I gotta have it, so goddamn it, I'ma be everything I plan to be. Glad to see money coming my way, believe I'll achieve anything I put my mind to, or at least I try to. I'm avoiding my doom, manifesting my room. Meditate the ease of flow. Third eye open, see the golden energy. It can enter me, get me to feeling full. Forget my enemies, dead to me, yeah, I proceed to go to a new dimension. Gotta mention it's inside of soul. Go inside, fuck the outside. Never tell lies, show pride for belief. Gotta keep the range wide, so instead I just write another hit. Getting fried, rolling up, smoke another blunt for the good times. Good times, bad times makes for the good rhymes. So it never matters, I just learned, no I can't hide. Thank God for every second was birthed with the mind. mind of an ancient soul who's just waiting for the next sign. I'm always watching, vision like a hawk, have 'em flocking. When I drop it, I'm talking, have 'em knocking. The knowledge that I'm dropping, I'm coming out the noggin, I'm logged in. That's the intuition, nothing wrong with doing what you feel is right, everybody got this. Usually feel it in the night when I'm dropping knowledge. Never even needed any college, abolish people telling people what they want. I do not wish control over anybody, do it for the profit. That's the reason that they push it, do it from the cockpit. Cause they got the money, want the money on the mob shit. On the mob shit, but I know they ain't gon' make it, shit is poppin'. At the end of time, new age topics. Revolutionary crusade cross, here we go to a new space. Yeah, we entering a new place. Louis V on my shoelace, rolling with the blue face. Yeah, I'm wondering what you chase. Just another dude caught up in the rat race. Moving my pace, lot of people looking at me sideways. I chase future preparations, gotta go through my phase till I feel ready to rearrange it. Happen on a daily basis, tripping oasis. When so many people that I can see through their faces and touch, so I'm reading minds, feel like I'm evasive, persuasive. Cause I feel the vibe, manipulation, I'm patient. Yeah, I feel the vibe, then work to change it. Manifestation, blessings is what I'm chasing. Quantum physics, I'm about to take the time and rearrange it. I play with reality, can't feel like I'm basic. Most people shut it down, don't wanna embrace it. Replacing knowledge.
All right. I decided to go ahead and bring you guys some more videos. Yo, check this out. So throughout the night, we showed you some World Fairs cover-ups, some orphan train mysterious natures, and this is all part of the Tartarian reset. Well, we're going to go ahead and show some videos about the Tartarian reset to finalize this episode and to bring this full circle. And yes, this is going to make sense.
The 20th century.
So
the Tartary civilization was likely destroyed between the 19th and 20th century through mud floods, energy weapons, and scheduled mass exterminations, and the Earth was suddenly deserted of billions of people. All the architecture and technology of this superior civilization was stolen and passed into the hands of the New World Order, who created the current ignorant civilization. Could it be that these alleged events of the 1800s were the final book burning, history removing knowledge of the Tartarian people?
What is the occult, forbidden history of humanity, the reset of humanity, Tartaria, Mudflood, and what happened only 2-3 centuries ago? Starting with this picture from 1973 in Paris, you can obviously see that something was built before our humanity. These constructions, these buildings, which that's why they call them Mudflood, because there's mud, there's earth covering them. So obviously this comes from a different period, which is before our time. Not so much ago, not so long ago, but something like 2 or 3 centuries. This has to do with what happened in 1812 regarding the great mystery surrounding the Napoleonic war, or the war with Napoleon. Also, there's evidence that before the war with Napoleon, there was an advanced technology race, or an advanced humanity with advanced technology in that age preceding it. So 17th, 16th, 15th centuries. Pictures around the world, not just in Russia, but everywhere, they show you that Mudflood is real. The evidence that Tartaria and Mudflood existed. Old buildings show signs of being mud flooded. Something happens, someone or something reset humanity. And these buildings that you see right now are just the construction that they were built over on top of what we had before, and the humanity that lived before our time. The thing is, what nobody understands, nobody speaks about, is this period of 3 years during the war. There was a period of 3 years during the war, which is described as the years of 1800 and frozen to death. 3 years in which humanity did not have summer. Human beings were freezing because of the cold. And obviously this allows us to think something like an artificial cataclysm made with artificial weather control technology, which means that the whole history of human race changes. Millions of people perished during these 3 years of obviously of war, and you can see the War of 1812 was a global war that became virtually a Game of Thrones kind of thing. It was not just with Europe, because it was to do with the whole world, especially Russia. Now, history has been either hidden or altered concerning all the events of 1812. The ruling elite who belonged to the secret societies have embarked us into a new age, which some people call the age of the Great Deception. So, you had Tartaria. Before, Tartaria was what we know today as Russia, and Tartaria had their own flag, which you can see if you investigate the flags of those days before the 19th century. And Tartaria was a major world power that was multicultural. It had its own government. Since the 19th century, though, it has been quietly put away and incorporated into Russia and other countries, and we don't really know what happened. The color-coded map you see on the screen, which dates back to 1652, it's based on the Gregorian calendar, and Tartaria was Asia, including also India and China, and also shows Tartaria controlling all of North America, even Central America. There's a growing consensus that the Great Wall of China was not built by the Chinese, but built by Tartaria, and is much newer in construction based on the maps predating the 1600s. The Great Wall of China has fortifications and gates facing north towards Tartaria and not south towards China, which means that the Tartarians built this wall to protect themselves against certain invasions from the south. Marco Polo, the famous explorer, never once mentioned the wall during his trips, and he's likely that this wall was built when Tartaria was in decline to help keep the people out who were invading at some point from the south. Now, there's also a consensus that many of the Indian nations, the Indian tribes of America, are descendants of those of Tartaria and Scythia. There's also a common theme with the age that preceded the War of 1812, and some refer to it as the Old World Order or the Golden Age of Christianity. Also, you have these fortress star-looking buildings and castles and cities even that have the same technology being used to make the stars, the same engineering. It's absolutely impressive. The maps are in 3D, and notice the plans and maps for star fortifications have amazing high details as well, and this was done by intelligent people who had technology to build these things in a time where people were supposed to be primitive. The Statue of Liberty in the US also has inspirations in this star fortress type of technology, and also regions in Russia are still showing the remnants of what was in recent history the Vatican City, Parco Adriano, in terms of the fortress. And if you summarize all the stars you see, then they would require millions of man hours to work to create them, and also during a time of extraordinary peace, because if there was wars in the world, that you would not be able to construct these constructions. But because you can construct this, it means that the world was at peace, the golden age of humanity. As you can see, the maps, Europe and Asia are full of these things, but also Africa and Americas, of course, they have these as well. And in order to build such fortresses, not only hundreds of thousands of skilled workers were needed, but also brilliant engineers, designers, surveyors, and entire institutions, like what we call companies, had to exist to put this into place. Now, another common theme that preceded the War of 1812 is the neoclassical architecture that's also over the world. Neoclassical architecture can be identified by the long columns and perfect arch forms that you can see in these pictures that are showing on the screen right now. Several parts of the world, including Iran, Vietnam, Indonesia, Shanghai in China, also Japan, even Calcutta in India, and even Argentina across the ocean, they all show you these different things, different buildings, but with the same neoclassical architecture in different parts of the world. Another common theme that also appears in the architecture are the large domes with mercury antennas at the top, which you can see. Now, those antennas were not put there just for decoration purposes. Beautiful as they are, they serve a purpose, which is atmospheric energy. Free energy has been harnessed for centuries out of the air, which is what Nikola Tesla was telling us. Nikola Tesla was not the inventor of this energy. He just knew the truth about the true history of humanity, and he wanted to re-implement this energy, which you can see in Astrakhan, for example. Russia is a very awesome place in terms of, too bad that The Russian language is difficult for English-speaking people. But Astrakhan, if you translate it, and this is in Russia, the translation from Russian means modern electric theater. How the heck did they have modern electric theaters in a time where you're supposed to not have any electricity, because electricity was invented or was discovered according to mainstream science in the 20th century or in the late 19th century. So it all adds to the mystery surrounding the War of 1812 and Napoleon. 500,000 troops were on their way to Moscow, so the region close to Tartaria, and the supply line was 50 miles long. But to fight who? Against who was the war? We'll see this in part 2 next video, so stay tuned. Hope.
All right. We have one more video, and this one's gonna wrap it up.
So we have an understanding of how these names, towns and buildings are connected through the AI. There is a reoccurring fire theme. There are all these strange patterns where we have hours and hours of documented evidence of this. We focus on the old world here and the previous civilization and the hidden coded messages within these false narratives, and it all translates into today's world 100%. We know that the airports are so strange, and in my opinion, especially the big ones, they were previously there, and we have added on to them. We know that the Denver airport is strange in itself, said to have many buildings that are under the ground. And when we look at the O'Hare International Airport, and we have its location and see the address, we find something very strange. Again, coded messages, even in addresses for airports. Here we go. We see 10000 Bessie Coleman Drive, Chicago, Illinois, with a zip code of 60666. We have a lot of interesting things to look into today, including giants. And I sent out a poll on X. You guys voted that you wanted me to talk more about orphans and go much, much deeper. Welcome to episode 52 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new, welcome. And I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app. I'll put the link in the description, and you can use my referral code, MLB. The app is awesome. It shows a lot of videos that are really hard to find. They've got them all in great playlists. He also has my lunch break on the homeschool section of the app, which is really cool. Thank you for that. Thank you to Rebecca Kay, Don Gaston, Jason Brunson, Christopher Arietta, The Lady Lacey Show, Chuck Templeton, David and Sherry Ferguson, Edwin Johnson, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Edward and Brianna, Edwin Rice, Joy Lee, Kyle Glasscock, Leslie Pipkins, PNR, Stephanie Nolan, The Burlesons, Two Spirit, Suez KC, Dan Woodall, Mike, the Koheikia Mountain Rack, Open Air University of North America for teaching navigation and cyclic astronomy. Here we go. We scroll down and find this paragraph. In the 1880s, archaeologists went into the site and found a vast amount of skeletal evidence in the mounds, sometimes in deep chambers far from the surface. They found very large individuals, achieving heights of 7 to 8 feet in stature. In a few instances, the skeletons had 6 fingers, 6 toes, and double rows of teeth, where hair was still present. It was often red or blonde in color. All right, interesting. I don't remember being taught of the 6-fingered giants. Well, let's keep going. Here in the very next paragraph, I think we find which group is being controlled and being told to hide this information from us. I look at this group as a front. I think they're being told to do this by the hidden group, but let's see what happened here. And you, of course, can decide for yourself. John Wesley Powell lived with the Indians, and of course, became the first director of the U.S. Bureau of Ethnology at the Smithsonian Institute. Powell started deciding what we were going to learn, deciding that the Indians were the only people who had ever been in the Americas prior to Columbus. So, he tells us that the Indians were responsible for the Koheikia Mounds. Very interesting. And also, Columbus, in my opinion, was not a real character. and just another story where if you think he was good or bad, you are admitting that he was real, when in reality, he's a fictional character to attempt to set up their ridiculous timeline. Are you ready to go even deeper? We have fully documented reliable accounts of the Smithsonian Institute personnel traveling to the 1800s communities in Middle America to take possession of large skeletons exhumed from the mounds, where they have this information documented in papers. Then we have Patricia Mason of Ohio reaching out to the Smithsonian Institute for more information to try to find these giant skeletons that were somehow gifted to this museum, or you could call it a burn pit, because they told Patricia that the Smithsonian Institute never received any of these items. So we clearly have an operation here. We are starting to see who is doing what. We are seeing key players in the game and who is attempting to hide our past from us. At this point, there were 100% giants, in my opinion. The doors that we've seen here are massive. They aren't for us. Buildings are way too big. They aren't proportionate to our size at all. And when you find this article from 1891, where it states that the old Catholic temple erected at Cahokia 120 years ago in 1771, which was 5 years before the USA was even found, it was abandoned as a church. The old temple has an interesting history. Well, I'm sure it does. A temple in Cahokia from 1771. And wait, what did they say was 24 inches under the dirt at Cahokia from episode 45? What appeared to be the outline of the temple. Was this temple and these giant bones here so much closer to our timeline than we are told, covered up by dirt at some point after 1891? They could be talking about another temple located in the same town of Cahokia. But how many temples does one small town have in 1771? This is all very strange. Either this is the temple, and it was built in 1771, and this was common knowledge, possibly by giants, or Cahokia was filled with temples. It's very interesting stuff. I mean, in 2023, almost 2024, how many temples does your town have? In 1771, I guess they just had a bunch of temples all over the place. What is going on here? Especially when St. Clair County, the county that Cahokia is located in, wasn't even found until April 27th, 1790, which is like 20 years after they say this temple was built. The mainstream history is a complete mess at this point. It isn't logical at all. The truth is smooth. It makes sense. There aren't holes in the truth. A lie is a mess and all over the place. And this is exactly why we fully trust the mainstream narrative. Oh, wait, we don't? Now in Columbus, Ohio, we are given one of the most important narratives to this point, to our research, in my opinion. We have the Pontifical College, Josephinum, where Joseph comes over to the USA from Germany in 1867. 3 years later, he becomes a priest and has his own church within a few months. And he gets to buy the house next door, of course, to support 12 orphans. And do we all know about the orphans at this point? Possibly a repopulation tactic that was going on in the 1800s. It's very interesting. Was it only 12 orphans? Or was this one of the places that they would send the orphans through to get them into society? Because who would ever question Joseph the priest from the 1800s? You know, the guy that just randomly shows up from Germany, has all the money ready to buy houses somehow, to support orphans. It all checks out, of course. Simple stuff for Joseph. This was known as the St. Joseph Orphan Asylum. It grew so rapidly for some weird and, of course, very random reason that 5 years after it began, Joseph moved the operation closer to the railroad, which is how these individuals would be dispersed throughout the country. So this is a paragraph of admission. We are being told down to the smallest detail how this operation worked. It would go through churches. They would bring a manager type over from Europe, call them a priest, give them a house, give them the resources to run these operations, purchasing new buildings with ease to run the program. So not only do you have the World's Fairs that were a repopulation tactic, you had these orphan trains and orphan hubs where they would be dropped off and planted into society. The new facility that Joseph was just finding and saying was his. I want to make that clear, he wasn't building anything. He was given these buildings that were already there from the previous civilization. So the new building gave the orphans a training in the trades. So this Joseph guy was obviously sent with a purpose to repopulate and teach to a brand new society, one that didn't have any skills. This right here is how you reset a society's technology level. The teacher is never in charge of what the students learn. This Joseph character is a teacher of a class. He is not the principal of the school. There are many schools. He is clearly taking direction as to what the students of the new society will learn. There were many classes like this one all over the country happening simultaneously. This was an operation. This went on for 12 years with zero backstory. Finds the Collegium, Josephinum, this massive college, is just found and ready to roll. No clue where the money came from. No mention of how many men were needed to build this place. Just found it. And its first class of 23 men began. It's unbelievable. This is one of the most important stories to our research, in my opinion, because it shows exactly how the operation took place. It's actually laying it all out there and shows us exactly how they repopulated these regions in the USA. It shows us the operation with the orphans, the teaching programs. And this was our base for our technological knowledge. Whoever controlled this operation from the top has all of the technology from the previous civilization and is controlling what technology we get to have. And they've clearly been doing this for a very long time. And for anyone that's on the fence, we have the St. Vincent's Infant Asylum located in Baltimore, where we have tunnels under the ground. This infant asylum was in use in the mid-1800s during the same time period as German transferred Joseph. And what do you know? In the early 1900s, the operation was done. And they declined new orphans. 1941, they changed this to apartments. And in 2015, they light it up and try to destroy it with a fire, but they fail. So 3 years later, what do you think happens? 2018, the building was illegally demolished without a permit. You literally can't make this stuff up. It gets more and more obvious if you're still on the fence. Let's go even deeper. We have the St. Mary's Orphan Asylum, located in Galveston, Texas, where they tell us that this one is haunted. Now, I've talked about hauntings before briefly. I'm not going to say that there aren't any hauntings, but when it comes to these old world buildings, I think it was a tactic to keep people away from them. Just say that they're haunted, and it scares everyone away from investigating. So we have yet again another orphan operation going on in the mid-1800s. And I'm just going to let you know that this is going on and on and on. There were so many orphan operations going on in the mid-1800s because this was how they were repopulating these cities. So where were all these kids' parents? Is this where a lot of our families originated from? Is this why the family trees in the USA almost all end around the same time period? We are told hundreds of fire stories through the first 52 episodes. We know that that is the key and the nod, that it's a building that was constructed by the previous civilization. The St. Mary's Orphan Asylum. For anyone wondering where the parents of these orphans were, you might want to check the other asylum, the insane asylum, because they were not going along with the reset. Here's a graph showing that the insane asylums are disappearing over time. And I wonder why. Good thing they cared so much about us in 1955 and 1965, because surely that was the fix. Oh, it wasn't? And then a fire had devastated the St. Mary's Orphan Asylum in 1875. If anyone is still on the fence, there is room over here to get off the fence. And honestly, who would want to sit on top of a fence anyway? So we have Ohio, Baltimore, Texas. We have all these towns and cities being repopulated. Brand new people, brand new social structures, brand new mindsets, and resetting what people are taught. This all happened around 150 years ago. So this is all very new. This isn't thousands of years ago. Then we have another very interesting aspect of this in Germany during this same exact time period. And remember, we also have good old Joseph from earlier, also from Germany. So here we are given the Kinderbewahrungsanstalt. And if I pronounce that wrong, I hope you all understand. This is where we are given kindergarten, another tactic to teach children the brand new social structures. What better way to trick people? Take them out of their family's home and tell them what to think, and then test them on it. Failing the test will then lower your self-esteem, putting a social pressure on children to agree with this new way of thought, or they will be called dumb and get an F. This is an operation. It's all connected, and it's designed to enslave the world's population. Year after year, we are all taught a false narrative. We've all been brainwashed into thinking that you are either smart or dumb based on a curriculum that holds zero value in the real world. Now, who knows if this Frederick Froebel was even a real character, but they do admit that kindergarten starts in Germany around the exact same time period that we're talking about, the mid-1800s. So I wanted to tie it all in with the rest of the world. This is a worldwide operation. This is not just the USA. We have a lot of things in the USA being controlled through Germany during this time period, especially the education aspect of it. And I want to point out that, yes, we have borders and division now. We have so many countries in the world, and everyone is separated. And you're unable to travel to other lands unless you have a piece of paper that is registered and checked at the checkpoints. But who's to say that there even was a border in the previous civilization? Were there so-called elected leaders controlling everyone, deciding what we can and cannot do? Could they have had a truly free life where they were able to travel wherever they want freely and not feel like they're invading someone else's territory? I would say, in my opinion, this was the world that was here before the reset. And something happened where this past civilization was wiped out and their technology was stolen by a group. And some of it is now being sold back to us strategically. The good stuff is kept to control the masses and used for their benefit. Before we get into the final part that's going to expose a lot, I want to thank all the badge members and the Patreons and subscribers. You are all helping this channel out a lot and keeping it going. We have a lot more to share. I look forward to every Saturday hearing all of your thoughts in the comments below. Here we have the St. Joseph's Orphanage, located in Vermont. And if you want to know where they get these horror movies, where they show a nun doing crazy things, there's a dark truth to it. These movies don't come out of nowhere. They come from the last 150 years. Here in Vermont, in the mid-1800s again, thousands of children came through its doors. If you want to demoralize, control, and manipulate a new population, make them completely forget their past and never question what they're told, you would make them suffer. You would take them from their families, and you would ruin their mind at a young age. This is exactly what happened in the wars, where all men between ages 21 to 45 were required to fight in World War I, which was in 1914 to 1919. 2.8 million men drafted, 2 million volunteered, where you get the term shell-shocked or mentally confused. You can look at the shell-shock videos on X. I'm not going to show that here. But talk about destroying minds and making sure that the population is unable to focus on finding the truth. So we have millions of people in wars. We have more than 5 million American children passing through the orphanage system in the 1900s alone, hitting its peak in the early 1900s. So it began in the mid-1800s and really ramped up to populate these cities. The American orphanage system included more than 1,600 institutions, partly supported by public funding, but usually run by religious orders, exactly like we talked about in the beginning of this episode. So I think we have now a very solid understanding how the USA was repopulated, how this operation took place, and exactly when it took place. I think that we now have factual evidence as to when this reset really happened. And I think that every episode that is released makes episode 10 and 38 stronger and stronger, giving us more and more proof to our true history.
Well, man. Dude, it's been a good night, guys, and I appreciate you guys being here. What you guys can do for me is like, subscribe, share, and tell it around that this is going down. Also, visit Okazi Clothing for Demon Slayer inspired clothing for the gym. If you like Demon Slayer and you like looking fresh at the gym, go to Okazi Clothing. Yeah, Okazi Clothing, OKAZE Clothing, and use coupon code 509 Divine Pines for wrist straps, duffel bags, shirts, shorts, and more. You also can go to w.gg for a natural energy drink powder. You know, if you want to feel hyped up and you want something clean, use coupon code 509 Divine Pines over at w.gg for a natural energy drink powder that you can go ahead and put into any of your drink any time of the day. All sorts of flavors and collaborations with gamers and teams, professional teams, professional gamers. So check them out. Thank you guys for being here. Good night. God bless. See you guys next time on the 509 Divine Pines podcast. Yes, yes. This is the best. Peace.